I'm laying in my bed. Don't wanna close my eyes. It's cloudy in my head.
Hi everybody, Ian Locke here for Orion Neighborhood Television inside the ONTV kitchen. I have my recipe ready to go, a nice quick easy one. Who doesn't love salsa, right? I love it. I kind of got away from that jarred stuff a long time ago and started experimenting with fresh salsa and making my own. So I had a garden in the summertime, and I pretty much planted all of the things I would need for a salsa recipe. So I had jalapenos, I had green peppers, I had tomatoes. I was using cherry tomatoes and grape tomatoes just to see if it would work, and it did. I know most salsas don't have a lot of tomato seeds in them, and they're nice and clean and all the good stuff. I go, but hey, if you're at home and you have your own garden and we're putting together a little salsa, I just use what I have. And all summer long, I think I made 4 or 5 batches of just the stuff I grew. So what elements are we going to use for our salsa today? I mean, everybody has had it. If you've had the Garden Fresh salsa or the there's other different names, Frank and Joe's, and all these different types of salsas out there. And I figure I can make some of this too. The ingredients are simple, they're clean, no sugar. And so let me go over some of the ingredients I'm using in this recipe today, which is available. And we'll edit the recipe into this show so you can see what's going on. But yeah, so it's pretty easy stuff, right? Tomatoes, right? So I make sure I have ripe tomatoes. You got to make sure you have ripe tomatoes. So my tomatoes are nice and little soft here, and they're telling me they're ripe. These are the vine ripe tomatoes. I just picked these up at the grocery store. But again, I was just using a whole bowl full of like cherry tomatoes and grape tomatoes and that sort of thing to get the volume of tomatoes I needed. So vine ripe and tomatoes. I have 1 small onion that we're going to use about half of it. This usually I use a nice sweet onion. That has a better flavor to it. This is just a yellow onion, just a regular old onion. I have 2 jalapenos here that I'm going to use. Again, I didn't grow these. The ones I grew this summer had a lot of heat to them. So we'll talk about jalapenos and what you need to watch out for heat to regulate the heat if you like mild or if you like hot salsa. But we also have cilantro here. I don't know if you can see that. I just bought a bunch of cilantro. It costs like, I don't know, 70 cents over at the grocery store. A green pepper, just a standard old green pepper. I have some sea salt, no iodine. So I avoid the iodine salt and just got some regular old sea salt. I've got my measuring spoons here to try to get proper measurements, but as I don't know if you've ever seen any other, I'm sure you guys are the same when you're cooking at home. Sometimes you measure, sometimes you don't. For me, today I have the formal list of how to make this, but I'll just throw it together the way I usually do it. I'm sure you guys do the same thing for certain recipes you like. The other element that's very important with very tasty salsa is lime juice. So I have this little jug of lime juice from concentrate here, but fresh lime juice is always the best. And sometimes it's tough to get some decent limes that aren't, cost $2 a piece. And if you can find decent limes, go ahead, grab a bag of limes. But I'm using this lime juice from concentrate, and it seems to work pretty good. Then I have my trusty minced garlic all ready to go. A little of this goes a long way. So if you're going to put garlic in your salsa, just be wary because I think the first batch I ever made with garlic, I put way too much. And I was reading off a recipe verbatim, and when I took a bite of it, it almost knocked me over. It was way too much garlic. So I go a little bit lighter on the garlic, and I think this one just calls for maybe 1 clove. So that's like a 1/4 teaspoon of this minced garlic. Okay, so preparation, what else do we have? Oh, I got my white vinegar to go along with it. So our lime juice and our vinegar is our acid to go in with our vegetables. And they react well with the tomatoes and the acidity of the tomatoes to make salsa what it is and make it so tasty. But I can't stress enough the importance of the salt in there. I made a batch where I forgot to put my salt in. I was in a hurry and I was just chopping it up on a Saturday, and I threw it together real quick, and I'm like, oh man, this looks great. I took a bite and I'm like, something is wrong. There's just something missing. I go, I didn't put my salt in. So just a moment of discussion on salt. You can go as light as you like. Make this however start light on the salt. For me, I go light, and then I'll add a little bit more, and I'll taste it as I go, right? So you find what you like. All right, so I got my trusty sharp knife here to chop up my veggies. But how are we blending this together? So there's different ways that you have seen salsa. Some are pureed. You go to restaurant-style salsa. It's kind of more of a liquidy type, little lumpy. Some of it's real liquidy. Mine is more of a blended. I got my little Ninja blender here, which works well, but if you want to use a food processor, you can. I've seen a lot of people just dice everything up into nice, small, square chunks and get it nice and evenly distributed, and it's more of a pico de gallo type thing, and that's how they make it. They just chop it up. They don't even use a blender or a food processor. They just throw it in the bowl, throw in their acid, throw in their salt and seasoning, and they're good to go. For me, I liked using the Ninja here to just pulse it. It allows me to control the blending so it doesn't turn into a complete liquid. So that's what we're going to use here today. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to move my jalapenos out of the way, and I'm just going to start chopping. This is really quite easy. The batch I'm going to make today and is listed with the recipe. It asks for like 6 cups of diced tomatoes. That's if you want to make more of like a pico de gallo thing. For me, I'm just going to cut them into chunks and then just throw them right in the blender. So if you want to, you can throw them into a large mixing bowl. I have this kind of a medium-sized mixing bowl, which I will then chill the salsa for at least a couple hours. I want them to sit in the juices and the seasoning to really kind of blend together, and then once it's chilled, it's awesome to go. Right, and I got a little mixing spoon to, mix things up. So here we go. Let's get started. I'm going to start with my tomatoes. And the one thing we got to watch out is if you're using the tomatoes, I'll hold it up to the overhead camera, see if we can see that. But you have, the stem part here. You want to knock that out. So we're going to cut that off. And as I open this up, I got to see what the core of the tomato looks like. So we don't want to have that hard, pithy stuff in our salsa too. I've seen many recipes where they're cutting it open and they're taking all the seeds and all the guts out of the tomato and just using basically the outside, just the fleshy part of the tomatoes. But I've also seen recipes where they peel the tomato, they'll boil them, peel them, or they use canned tomatoes. So we're gonna, when I'm using my cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes, I don't have to really worry about that. I just chop them in half and they're small enough that when we blend them up, it just turns into the right consistency. Okay, so this one, I have 4 tomatoes, and recipe's calling for like 4 to 6. So I'm gonna grab, let me do my 5 here. Let's see how it goes. And then once I throw it into the blender, I kind of eyeball. I got 6 cups on the blender as a max. So I know I'm gonna probably fill the majority of this blender up about 3/4 of the way, or 2/3 of the way up with my tomatoes. Again, just follow the recipe and experiment as needed. Okay, all right, so let's get chopping here. Let's see if I can get my tops off. Good to go. Now this is the first time I've used, so if we look at the tomato, we just chop the top off, and you see that you get this little core bit here. It's not so bad. I've had, if you do like hothouse tomatoes or the larger tomatoes, this core goes all the way through the tomato and it's hard and you really don't want it and you just usually cut around it. But these are the vine ripe tomatoes. A lot of people use Romas as well because those are nice and clean all the way through on the tomato. So I'm just gonna slice this one in half. I'll take a peek on the inside. Yep, so you can see the core isn't so bad, right? Small, it's not too hard, it's actually soft. So I'm just gonna lop the tops off and call it a day there. So just start chopping up. I'm going to do chunks. I'm not going to really dice anything up, so there's some chunks there because my blender will do the job for me. Okay. Again, just something else I saw too in some recipes for salsa is that people were buying canned tomatoes. So you can get away with canned tomatoes. And sometimes the canned tomatoes come pre-seasoned, or they are, what do you call it? Like smoky. They have a little smoker like they were roasted before they were canned, and that gives you a little flavor to it. This recipe also is calling for a little bit of cumin powder, or cumin, however you want to say it. And if many of you guys know, that spice is basically the taco spice. So when you eat tacos, that taco flavor, that little spicy taco flavor, that is the cumin powder. I don't put that in here. Some recipes also are asking for like black pepper. I never do that. I just put together my tomatoes and my veggies right from my garden and just kind of chunk it out here. So here we go. Let's say from the start of chopping, again, there's no rhyme or reason to my chopping here. I'm just trying to get them small enough to get them into the blender. There's no set size or whatever you need to get this prepped to go. Let's see, I think I need a couple more. And I think the fastest I ever pulled one of these off at home, I got a batch made in about 15 minutes, I think it was, or under. So I'm going to chop a little quicker here. Who needs to see me chop all this stuff, right? All right, so let's see. Let's pop my top off to my, let me get a paper towel. Wipe my hands off. I'm one of those guys, I don't like goop on my hands. I don't know how you guys are. No goop on the hands. Oop, how to get this off? Do I own this? Is this mine? Hello. Technical difficulties. There we go. All right, so here's my little blender. The Ninja's kind of cool. It just has a couple easy pieces. It works really well. And so when we were talking about, prepping after you cut everything up, if you feel more comfortable putting everything into a mixing bowl and mixing everything together, including all of your seasoning and your acids and your garlic and all that kind of stuff, go ahead, do so. For me, as I've done batches, I've learned to do my tomatoes first, throw my green pepper and onion in, my cilantro, and my garlic. I'll also throw some salt in. And then I'll wait on my acids until after I blend it. Because these tomatoes are super juicy, and sometimes I like my salsa a little stiff, so it's not as runny. So if I have to actually have a strainer, I brought, just in case I need to strain some of the juice out to kind of get a firmer type salsa. But again, that's a preference that you guys can decide for yourself. Okay. And go my tomatoes. Dum, 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 dum. These are kind of big chunks. Again, this is first time using the vine ripened tomatoes, so we'll see how it goes. We're learning together, right? I'm thinking my and there's a lot of space in here too. I could have gone a little bit smaller on these tomato chunks. Let me get another one going. Get the lid over there. Now this one has kind of a little stiffer core, so I'll just pull that out. All right. And these are kind of nice. Not a lot of seeds in this. I've had some tomatoes, you open them up and it's like, whoa, go plant it, right? Just loaded with seeds. They have some in here, but it doesn't bother me. Again, your preference. If you want to cut all this stuff out, you can. Me, I just want to get it done and in the fridge and chilled so I can eat it. I'm an impatient cook, as you say. So you can see, like inside the tomato, we're talking about maybe if you wanted to get rid of the guts of the tomato. I'm not sure if you can see that, but we have the membrane and you have the seeds here. And then if you want to, you can just slide that out. So if you don't want to have that in there, and then you just have the guts of the tomato. Really, it's up to you. Okay, that looks pretty good. I have 3 more tomatoes, but we'll use those just for show. Okay, now my onion, and I'm going to use about half of this onion. Cut the ends off and clean this up a bit. The outer skin. When it comes to onions, I've been using sweet onions. They come out great. They have a nice little flavor to them. They're not too intense. This here is just a standard onion you'd have in your like a yellow onion and bag onion you find at the store. And I just start chopping these babies up. Now with these onions, I will dice these up because I do not want big chunks of these in my salsa. Okay, so I'll just dice these babies up. Get through them pretty quick. All right, cool. And nice sharp knife, watch my fingers. Okay, that looks pretty good. Again, I'm not being very precise. There's my onion. We'll see how that goes. Just want like a nice evenly distributed onion through your salsa. Okay, green pepper. Now sometimes, they always ask for, fresh veggies and all that stuff. Sometimes if I have a green pepper still hanging around in my fridge a while and he's starting to get a little mushy, a little soft, he's still good, but you can see that's getting a little soft. It's not as crisp. Goes in the salsa. You can always blend it up, right? So there's no need to throw anything out if you have your veggies. So recipe calls for about 1/4 of a medium-sized green pepper, and I just leave the membrane in. I've seen some recipes that go, oh, cut it out because it's a little bit bitter. This, it doesn't really matter because we're blending everything together. So I just use, this one's a little bit smaller than anticipated. So I'm just going to use half of my green pepper. How about that? Yep, I'm already going off script on the recipe. So I'm going to dice these up a little tighter, kind of like my onions, because we want these to be also evenly distributed. And it's amazing how I had no idea that straight up green peppers were inside of salsa. Right? Ooh, flipping all that stuff all over the place. All right. So here goes my green pepper. And already everything I have so far has been super juicy. And so I have a feeling I'm going to have to drain some of this fluid off. Again, that's my preference. Okay. How does that look? Looks pretty good. Let me get a little bit more. Somebody's asking me how I cook certain recipes. I go, I don't, once you start making them a while, I stop looking at a list. I just go, what's it look like? What's it taste like? And you move on to the next thing. And it works out well for me. I'm sure you do the same thing. All right, goop off the hands. All right, let's talk jalapenos, because jalapenos are next. I got two of these big boys. Got these over at the grocery store. And the mystery is I do not know the heat of these these babies. So what I usually do with my garden ones, I know there's a lot of heat in those jalapenos, so I got to watch what I'm doing. When I made like a triple batch that was a bunch bigger than this, and I put 2 of my own jalapenos in. And if you leave the membrane, in which we're going to see this, I'm going to cut the end off. That membrane and the seeds, if you can see that, I don't know if you can see that, the close-up of that. But inside, just like any other pepper, there's a membrane and you have some seeds in there. Can you see that? And so the heat really intensifies with that white membrane and the seeds. So let me get this down the middle. This might be a better shot here. This looks, maybe go over the overhead. This is where the heat is if you really have decent jalapenos. So this right here, this white membrane and these seeds, yeah, that's where it goes kind of off the rails if you're not careful. So I've purchased these jalapenos. It was from the local Kroger in the last batch, and it wasn't very hot at all. So I know this isn't so bad. So look at me. I'm handling jalapenos with bare hands. People in recipes warn you, watch out, because if you have one that is exceptionally hot or is toasty, that you can get the oil and the juice from the jalapeno on your fingers, and if you touch any part of your face or it gets in your eye, it's not a pleasant experience. So I watch myself and what I'm touching and all that kind of stuff as I'm preparing my jalapenos. But for today, I'm going to remove the membrane of this guy and the seeds. just for fun, just so you can see how it's done. So I just pop it out and I have this stem of seeds. And if you want to, I'd say hold on to these and soak them, and you can plant them in your garden in the spring. So it works out pretty good. So now I'm going to really chop these up. I'm going to use a whole jalapeno in this. So I'm going to dice these up just like I did my green peppers. Get them kind of small because we want these to be distributed nicely throughout the mixture. So there's half of one. Boop, right on top of there. And then I'm just gonna, I have a little bit of membrane, a little bit of seeds on this second half, so I'm just gonna leave that in there. I'm smelling my jalapeno and it doesn't smell as spicy. Does that make sense? It smells spicy. Yeah, the ones I had this summer, I had no idea they were that hot, and when I put it all in there, let me slide this forward a little bit so you can see. All right, so see the mixture just in the container. We're just stacking it up as we go along. Let me move my other jalapeno. We're just going to do one. I thought about getting a little crazy and adding 2 jalapenos to it, but I don't want to do that. So the next element is cilantro. This is the magic sauce for salsa, in my opinion, and this is what gives salsa its, at least the garden fresh, or the fresh salsa that you'd make from like garden vegetables and things. This cilantro is where the flavor is to really give it kind of that kick. Now I understand some people have a recessive gene, I would say, that if they taste cilantro, it tastes like soap. Luckily, I don't have that problem. That's not an issue with me. So I like extra cilantro, and you can buy your fresh salsas at your grocery store, and they have extra cilantro and all that kind of stuff. The only bummer about cilantro is when you chop it up again. I'm an impatient cook, and I don't mind the stems, but the cilantro does have the leafy area, and then you have this stem here. And some people don't like the stems. The texture of the stem's kind of funky. Doesn't bother me. It all tastes the same. Ooh, and that smells so good when you start chopping up the cilantro. Now, I won't go too wacky. I would usually put this whole thing in, but since I'm not filling everything to the brim, I'll just leave some of the cilantro out. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so I still have some left over, my leafy cilantro, which I absolutely love. And when you discover salsa in a jar, you go, oh, that's hot, that's tasty, ooh, that's garlic, that's salt. And then you just start to have fresh salsa, you're going, what is that flavor? And you go, oh, that is cilantro. So I love my cilantro. Okay, before we move on, garlic. Okay, so it asks for 1 clove of garlic, and that's about a 1/4 teaspoon of minced garlic in this jar. Something else I like to share too is my little spoons. How about these? I don't know if we can get the overhead shot. So these are magnetic measuring spoons. I don't know if you guys have issues with your spoons, measuring spoons falling all over your drawers at home, and they just like end up, where's my quarter, where's my 1/4 teaspoon, where's my tablespoon? They're all, these all stick together. Nice. I love this. Okay. Thought I had a sneeze coming. All right, let's get into garlic. So I'm going to do, ask for 1 clove. Here's 1/4. That's technically a clove. Let me go a little bit. I told you I wasn't going to do that, but I'm going to. A little bit more. Like I said, garlic goes a long way, and you got to watch out. So I like garlic. So what are you going to do? All right, salt. We were talking about salt either. It says 1½ teaspoons of salt. So what I am going to do, that seems like a lot of salt to me. So what I'm going to do is put 1 teaspoon in. I'm going to go easy on my salt. Okay, so just measure over the pot. So it's about 1 teaspoon, but again, I don't want to put too much in, and if I have to, I can always put it in later. and because salt will kill any dish you have if you have too much of it in there. It just blows your mind. It's just horrible. So okay, I think I'm ready to blend. Now notice I did not put my acid in yet. I didn't do my vinegar. I didn't do my lime juice. I'm going to do that after and try to get my ninja together. Where's the... There it is. Whoa. Okay, let's see if I can get this over here so everybody can see. All right, time to pulse my veggies. You guys ready? I don't know if you guys can see that. Move it up a little bit. Front here. And so basically what I do is I just look at it and I just start pulsing like this. Okay. That looks pretty good. Let's see if I can get this. Again, the magic of this troublesome lid. There we go. Ooh. And we have one whole cilantro leaf that was not touched. Okay, so let's see if we can see the consistency of this. I don't know where you want it. Over here? Can you guys see that? Right? Through the jar. So see how it kind of it blended down, and this is a nice hefty bit of salsa here, right? So grabbing a tablespoon, I still have chunks. I can see, how about overhead, Tessa? Sorry, my director, Tessa, I'm moving all over the place. So this is a much better shot. So you can see the consistency of it, right? You see chunks. The tomatoes are blended well. The cilantro is pretty much 50-50. It's through there. My onions are nice and tiny. My jalapenos in there. My garlic's good. I don't smell the garlic. It's not overpowering, so we're good to go. Okay, so let me grab my mixing bowl. We are in the home stretch now of getting this stuff all situated. And what I'll do is I'll pour my salsa into the mixing bowl. Okay, and easy cleanup too. Veggies, as you know, easy cleanup. Rinse, wash it down. So here's my beautiful bowl of salsa without my vinegar in it, right? Not so bad. And I have to say, these vine-ripened tomatoes look really good. They're not real seedy, so there's not a lot of seeds in it, which is, maybe aesthetically pleasing, but I don't have to worry about that. Okay, now I'm going to be putting in my acids. Okay, this is the one thing with salsa is like lime juice is kind of with the cilantro and the lime juice. That's kind of the magic flavor, that missing thing. You go, what is that? What is that citrus taste? Now, fresh lime juice also is the best, but I just have, from concentrate that I got off the shelf. Okay, so what's it asking for with the 2 teaspoons of lime juice. Now, to be honest with you, I don't usually measure this out. I usually just go squirt, just squirt it. Oops, I missed. There's 1. There's 2. And I'll go. Okay, so I just add my lime juice, and then I have my white vinegar, and this is 4 tablespoons. I'm going to start with, let me do 3, because this is just a bit smaller batch. 1, 2, 3, right? But this is experimentation. And what I'll do is I'll mix this up. Now, I did not drain it. I probably should have drained it, like I mentioned. But I'm going to keep this. I'm going to make this one a little sloppier, I guess. Right? So let me mix that together. Smell it. Yeah. Smell the cilantro in there. It's good. Got a little hint of the jalapeno, little bit. So I have a feeling these are a little more mild jalapenos. Okay, so what I would sometimes do, let it sit. And like I said, sometimes I drain it. I have my strainer. But today we're just going to leave it as is, because after I let this sit and everything kind of marinates, the flavors come out in the salsa when I chill it. And then if I drain it, it drains off some of that, the vinegar and some of that lime juice. So what I'm going to do is just chill this, check the consistency after, I usually say, for a minimum of an hour, maybe 2, if you can do 24 hours and just let it sit, it gets better and better the longer it sits. So I'm not going to show this today because we're not going to wait 24 hours to do it, but I am going to cover this. I'm going to chill this for a minimum of 2 hours, and I'll come back and I'll check my consistency. And if I need to drain off some of the juice, I will. And then just before, let's say I'm going to have my first taste of it for dinner or a snack, I'll give it another shot of lime juice just on top. And if I have to, I'll just add a little bit of salt. Let me get a sample here. I don't have a spoon. Let's see what this thing tastes like. All right, mix it up. Oh yeah, nice and chunky. Looks good. Whoa, good. That is fabulous. Good. And the good thing about this is that the vinegar with the acid in it, it makes it stable in the refrigerator for about 4 days, sometimes longer. I cover this thing and I nibble on it all week long, and then Sunday comes, I make another batch. Okay? So that's it. That's it from the ONTV kitchen. This is my little foray into salsa making. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to make your own recipe or share your recipe with ONTV in the ONTV kitchen, give us a call at 248-393-1060, or head on over to our website at oriontv.org and check out other cooking shows or segments like we have here. And we welcome you into the ONTV kitchen. Everybody's welcome to come in and share their glorious recipes with the community. And with that, I'm going to sign off with my salsa. Oh, I got my chips too. So yes, I am going to have a snack, and I'm going to enjoy it thoroughly. And that's it for this edition of the ONTV from the ONTV kitchen. I'm Ian Locke. We'll see you next time. Thank you.